Now, I love how people tell the Catholic Church to butt out of politics and then chastise us for not being relevant. People like to think the church is the crotchety old man who tells all the young people to not run in his yard and to not have any fun. Damn your kids! Personally, I actually want us to get more into the social realm. I want the Pope to get a Facebook page. I know we have a fan page for him. I want him to get a profile because I want to post on the Pope's wall. And I kind of want to know if there's any viewers watching. I want to know what they would post on the wall. Tell us in comments below. I also want to start following the Pope on Twitter. I just learned he has a Twitter account. Yep, he does have a Twitter account. It's awesome. Like, I mean, like, who doesn't want updates on someone as powerful and awesome as the Pope? I just get this really great image of him on his cell phone twittering. Like from World Youth Day, that I'm jumping on that bandwagon now. But the tertiary realm seems to be politics, and understandably so. So let's take a look at the roots of why our founding fathers of America even mentioned separating the church from the political aspects of the time. So, in the very beginning we had that feud between Protestantism and Catholicism, which led to a lot of different monarchies, different kings and queens that kept switching back in between which two was the official religion of the kingdom. And so that led to a lot of bloodshed. And then in the 1500s you get King Henry VIII, who got peeved that his church wouldn't grant the annulment of his marriage because his marriage, which would be the first of many, his wife could not bear a son. He couldn't have a child. Wasn't that the guy who kept beheading his wives? That'd be the one. Because they couldn't bear children? Yes. I mean, that must be some sort of, like, he went through 9 like wives. 8 or 9, yeah. I mean, that must be, like, that's God, like, lightning striking him. It was probably his fault, too, being infertile. Yeah. And so for the first one, his solution, when the church wouldn't grant the annulment because there was nothing invalid about the marriage itself, I mean, not having a child wasn't a proper reason to get an annulment. Yeah. So his solution was to just make his own church, which is alike in almost every other way, except for that he was in charge. Naturally, this led to a little bit of clashing between some of the people in his kingdom, and in fact, some of the first refugees who came over to New England and to America were immigrants and refugees from that very movement. So, to avoid this later discrimination disaster, the people who came over, those immigrants, those colonists came over where the scars never quite healed from their experience in England. And so to avoid that sort of discrimination disaster, we get the freedom of religion, which wasn't a main thing at first. It actually started in Rhode Island. It was kind of this new thing, and it later permeated into every other state over time. But again, you have to look at where it came from in relevance to today. That freedom of religion means everyone gets to express their own religion and their own beliefs and act out their own faith, but without suppressing any other religion. So naturally, there's limits. I mean, if you believe in human sacrifice, sorry, you can't do that here. That's kind of a no-no. But lately, with all the corruption and all these different leaders having their own political agenda and focusing a little more on money, the separation of church and state has become a bigger issue. But it's meant to be so that the church individuals don't overtake the political power, because those individuals are human and I mean, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and so... Yeah, and it's actually happened before where religious leaders, like they have their own agenda and they end up being highly influential to the political world in general. I don't know if that would happen so much anymore, like even have a chance of that happening anymore, because it was mostly like plenary indulgences. Those. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so way back when, I'm not like in the Middle Ages somewhere, priests would actually be so corrupt as to give rich families plenary indulgences for cash. So basically the rich families would give the priests cash, and then the priest would give plenary indulgences. Which was kind of like good credit points. Yeah, basically a one-way ticket into heaven. Yeah. But the Catholic Church has actually like taken steps to prevent that from ever happening. Mm-hmm. And it was actually kind of a normal thing, you know, back then. Just like in that culture, it wasn't scandalous. It was just like, okay, you're rich, you're wealthy, you're powerful. Now you go buy a plenary indulgence. Yeah. And then also I think that's why in that time period we had like 9 popes, and there was only one official pope, but he had so many other people try and take over that.
Anti-popes and just it was a very split church. But now that the Pope has a Twitter, we can all be connected. Yes.
I mean, we've obviously taken steps in America. There's no more King Henry VIII incidents, but the thing is, church and state can't coexist and not influence one another. And the reason for that is most people have this misperception about the church that it's this like underground society, it's this monstrous entity, individual corporation. Like
it has its own agenda, like the Catholic Church is ruled by one person, like we have sleeper agents all around, and we have certain people placed in certain communities, and but honestly the Catholic Church, and sorry for interrupting, but like the Catholic Church is the Catholic Church as a whole. It's not just one building or one person. It's a religion, you know.
It's a community.
Exactly. It's not only a community, but it's a religion. That's like saying Earth as a whole has its own agenda, you know. And it's really not like that at all. There are not just Catholics in America. There are like Catholics in New Zealand. I mean, just all these different nations. It's a really big religion.
It's basically on every continent, isn't it? Besides
well,
Antarctica. I don't think we have any. No Catholic penguins.
No, but in any case, it's not. The Catholic Church doesn't have an agenda, and what people think the Catholic Church does is rule people, and that's not what it does. It doesn't rule people. It sets things out what people should do, and to really achieve holiness. You know, that's like thou shalt not steal. Well, yeah, that's actually a really good rule. I mean, you don't have to obey it. There's no consequence other than the other person getting angry that you stole something from them. As far as political influence that the Catholic Church has, I've seen pamphlets and pieces of literature that help you vote for certain things, but it's not like we want you to vote for John McCain or we want you to vote for Obama. It says you should really vote for whoever doesn't support abortion, or whoever is morally correct, or the most. And it like there aren't even like any names. Like you could apply this like any sort of thing that is given out by the Catholic Church. A guide to voting could be applied to really any sort of political debate or vote for a person in power.
In a perfect democracy, people would go and investigate these issues already on their own, but we know a lot of people don't, and so we give a kind of little guideline to see this is who you're really voting for. This is
and again, it's like it's not even like names. It's just okay. Is the person does the person support abortion? Does the person support the death penalty? Does who you're voting for? Are they really like their track record? Are they really morally sound? You know?
Yeah. So just kind of like things to consider.
Yeah.
I did like what you said though, that the Catholic Church isn't about ruling people. It actually is the people. Yeah,
it is the people. It's you know in the Constitution where it says for the people, by the people, or by the people, for the people. I forget which order that is. But that's pretty much basically the Catholic Church, except for when Jesus kind of came down to earth and was all godly.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, that whole thing. But really, it's just a bunch of human beings with the Bible, That's actually what a lot of other religions are. Protestants, Mormons, they're a bunch of human beings, with guidelines. And that's really what the Catholic Church is. It's just human beings with a moral compass,
And that's kind of the beautiful thing about our system, is that democracy is meant for people to vote what they believe, and there's just people who believe in what the Catholic Church teaches, and that's just a fact of life. And the Catholic Church is going to have that stance of morality. That's kind of what we do. And so, therefore, those values are going to enter the hemisphere, and so that's kind of just our message here that you can try to say that you're separating church and state, but you're really just kind of giving boundaries. You can't really separate them.
Exactly. Anyway, click that like button or wherever it is.
Like, favorite. And don't forget to leave a comment giving...
No, right? Would it be...
somewhere in this general area.
Yeah, over there. The like button right there. Yeah, click that like button over there. Leave comments below.
Don't forget in the comments if you want us to answer a certain question, leave it below and we'll make an episode about it. God bless!
Adios!